Yo.
Yo.
Oh man, I'm excited about today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about Kaiju number 8.
Kaiju number 8.
You know, it's funny. We've been watching anime a long time, and there's always like, when there's a manga that's really popular, and then they finally make the anime, it's like a big deal, right? When it finally comes out, like earlier this year, obviously, like Solo Leveling was the thing everyone was talking about, and then the next one was Kaiju number 8.
Yeah.
It's already like doing really well in Japan. Like
it's only 3 episodes in.
It's only 3 episodes in. Well, and I saw a friend of mine went to Japan recently and stayed at the Godzilla Hotel, and they had the Kaiju number 8 poster on the side of the hotel.
That's awesome.
Which was like perfect, obviously. Yeah. But it was funny. So I was like, okay, Kaiju number 8, and I think let's be transparent. I think we were gonna wait a few episodes, but they were like, well, we don't have anything to talk about, so let's watch it. But I also wasn't that excited because I was like, I honestly felt like I knew what the show was gonna be before I watched it.
Yeah, no, I was definitely looking forward to it, but from what I read, I had an idea of what the tone was going to be.
Oh, I didn't at all.
No. I had an idea of what the tone was going to be. It was not. It was not what I thought the tone was going to be.
When I first heard of Kaiju number 8 and I saw some of the imagery, I was like, oh, I get it. They're doing like the whole. It's like Attack on Titan, when Eren becomes a Titan and fights, other Titans. I'm like, they're just like, that's gonna be the thing, but maybe it's more like Pacific Rim, and it's like, but it's like still like gritty and cool and stuff, and then it starts, and the very open of the show is kind of what I expected the show to be, which was like Kaiju shows up, these like, badass like military people, they're sort of like the scouts from Attack on Titan
even
show
the
up.
way they move, even though they're not on like ODM gear, their movements almost felt like the swooping in on the ODM gear.
Yeah, and then of course the main like leader is like total like cold badass, sort of like that Levi or Mikasa character, and so I'm like, oh, okay, this is exactly what I thought, and then it cuts, and then we're introduced to the main character, and all of a sudden this show is not at all what I expected.
Not at all.
It is like so funny, and it is so weird.
Yeah.
And it's just like totally like there's something so special about expecting one thing and getting something else, especially if that thing is better than what you were expecting.
Well, so the thing is that, Attack on Titan was so good.
Yeah, it was great.
That the idea of something coming out and being, feeling like the next Attack on Titan, you can't do that.
No.
At least not yet.
Yeah.
And so the idea that I had that this was going to be a lot like Attack on Titan, I was so glad that I was wrong about that.
Totally.
With how hardcore Solo Leveling is, it's freaking awesome.
It's cool,
but it's so hardcore.
It's pretty,
And then coming into this and getting that lighter side.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's really cool, but it's really funny.
It really is, and it's got that kind of like, at first I was like, I felt like it was like a little bit like One Punch Man, and there were elements of the world like it, but weirdly enough, the humor, and I know this is going to sound kind of ironic, but the humor reminds me a little more of like, it's Mob Psycho, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called, yeah. Which is really funny because it's the same writer as One Punch Man. But it's kind of, it's just like slightly more like irreverent and wacky humor. And, I love it. So basically, we start off, and our main character is this guy named Kafka, which I thought was a very unique name for a hero of an anime. And he is not the cool guy.
No.
He is like this blue-collar guy who basically like...
He's part of the Kaiju
cleanup crew.
Yeah, the Kaiju disposal and cleanup unit.
Yeah. He's the guy that shows up, puts on the hazmat suit, and helps chop up the Kaiju that get defeated by the Corps. And and he always gets like the stinky jobs, like when he has to like deal with the intestines and stuff. And he's a very like, he's just like got this sort of blue collar life. And I was watching it and I was like, wait a second, because I was like, what is this? And I'm watching, I'm like, wait, is this the main character? Like, what is this show? Like, first I thought it was kind of like Cells at Work or something. I was like, is the whole show just like them like taking apart Kaiju?
Yeah,
like that's a weird idea for a show. And then we kind of find out really quickly that his dream was always to be one of these Kaiju fighters, and for whatever reason it hasn't worked out. And this,
but he's a really hard worker at what he does now.
Yeah, and he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
And then of course, there's a young guy who, something happens essentially, and they have to fight a kaiju, and we don't have to go through the whole thing, but the point is like it's this really interesting sort of like different take on this genre.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that really, I mean, should I give more background to what happens?
I mean, the thing is that, so you've got your main character, and then you've got his new little friend who is the new worker who's like, taken under his wing at the disposal place. But this new worker wants to become one of the fighters.
Yeah, like the only reason he's there is that that the test sometimes has a dissection unit for kaiju.
But on his first day, like at the end of the first day, they get attacked by a kaiju, and Kafka saves him.
Yeah, and they both fight it off.
And it's funny because you're like, he's so quick, and he's so like, but like, what is it that kept him from being part of the defense force that that kept him from the anti-kaiju defense force? Like,
and I don't think there's only 3 episodes, and I really don't think they've actually kind of revealed that yet.
They haven't. They haven't. But because you see the way like he puts up like a bit of a fight, like even though all he has is like broken pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
And he like he's able to save the kid like multiple times, and it's just like, again, you're wondering like, what could it possibly be that prevented this guy from doing what he wanted to do?
Yeah. Now, one of the things I want to mention before we get into like the actual crux of the story, but is that something that's really unique about this anime that I wasn't prepared for was that the main character is like 32 years old.
Yeah.
Which is like, that like never happens in anything that's shonen. I mean, shonen means boy.
It's comics for boys.
They're comics for like young men. That's why like every shonen character is usually around 15 or 16. Like every shonen character is that sort of Naruto, Ichigo, Luffy, Deku like age, right?
Yeah.
It's just the standard. It's always like somebody who's a teenager. And once in a while like it'll be somebody maybe in their like sort of like early 20s or very late teens.
Yeah.
But like to have somebody 32 was like, I was just like,
yeah,
this is like, I almost thought it was like I thought, I was like, is this even shonen?
No, I mean, like, if you have a character that's in their 30s, it's a character that's like a side character or a sensei or whatever.
It's usually a sensei. And even that, like, I'm pretty sure like Kakashi was older than that in the beginning of Naruto.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Kakashi was younger than that in the beginning of Naruto.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy kind of thing, and it's funny because they make these jokes like, oh gosh, is this what happens to your body at 30?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
But it also makes sense that his new like best buddy is like, what, probably like 20.
Yeah.
And then there's other characters that are like in their teens and stuff. And so like he'll be surrounded by younger characters, but you're right, it is bizarre and kind of awesome that your main character is in their 30s. Now the way that the part of the reason that I kind of think that this sort of came about is because, we grew up with anime, and so, but we grew up with like these action anime, but we never grew out of them.
Yeah.
And I think, and we are the norm. I think that is kind of a norm. And so I think like, people in their 30s now that grew up with these action anime and are still watching them, I think there's been a kind of craving for this kind of thing of like, no, I still want my age group like represented here, and not just as like this guy's sensei.
Oh, I totally agree. Oh, one anime I did think of, actually, because we were trying to look this up, with the main character is maybe over 30, even though it's not shonen, is Monster. I feel like Tenma must be in his 30s.
But I think like slice of life ones or like that, which is, theoretically slice of life, but like, a psychological thriller.
It's psychological thriller,
But but it's not like action fantasy.
Yeah, it's not shonen at all. Yeah, no, it's nothing about it.
Yeah, but the slice of life ones, there's more of a chance of characters being in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, whatever. You know, I think you can get away with it a lot more in those because anime is for everyone.
Yeah.
But action anime tend to be for a younger audience.
Well, you brought up the funny thing when we were talking about this earlier. You were like, yeah, in like shonen, everybody is either a teenager or they're like 1,000-year-old demon.
Yeah.
Who still looks like a teenager.
Exactly.
And it's like you're right. That is like the normal fare. So anyway, we're not even getting to like what the big part is. And so at the end of the first episode, they're in the hospital, they're recovering from this kaiju fight, and then out of nowhere, this crazy looking bug kaiju like finds Kafka, scans him, like telepathically says like there you are. Or
I've
like
been looking for you.
And then like shoves himself into his mouth.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden like Kafka becomes like a human-sized kaiju.
Yeah.
And then from there they have to kind of like figure out like how to basically deal with it because the defense force is going to kill him on sight. But he's still him.
Yeah.
There's like it's not like an Incredible Hulk thing where he's like his mind's taken over. It's like he's still him.
Well, and it's so funny because then you have him and his new little friend Ichikawa, like, and they're running around trying to deal with this, but they have to go into like kind of hiding and figure out like what the deal is and he's trying to figure out like what this body is and what it can do, and it's like
so good. That first scene where they're running away is so good.
And at the same time, it's like, they are both planning on trying out for the anti-kaiju defense force. Yeah. And it's like, well, how can Kafka do it when he's a kaiju?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much fun, interesting stuff. It made me think of this is really weird, but like, you remember that was Anne Hathaway movie where she like was controlling a kaiju when she was...
Oh yeah, what was that called?
I can't remember what it was called. But like that was like, it was an okay movie, but it was such an interesting, weird concept.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminded me of that because she didn't really understand how to control it, and she was like destroying things in Tokyo or whatever.
Yeah,
and she was like devastated by that. That was like, how can I not do that? And so parts of this where he was like destroying the hospital unintentionally. It's like all he's trying to do is open a window and he rips the wall off essentially.
When he first becomes a kaiju and he doesn't know what to do and everyone's freaking out, it reminded me of that episode of Buffy where Giles becomes a demon.
Yeah.
And he looks kind of like Tim Curry from that Tom Cruise movie. Whatever, I can't remember what it's called anymore. The Ridley Scott movie. I can remember everything about it. Mia Sarah. I can remember everything about it except for the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Wait. Legend.
Yes.
There we go. Well, it was a long way. Anyway, or even better, it actually... There's elements of it, though this is a very different anime. There's elements of him becoming a kaiju that actually reminded me a lot of Parasite.
Yeah.
Remember, was the anime version we saw, was it the Maxim? Is that what it's called?
Yes, Parasite the Maxim.
Yeah. So that's a great anime.
Yeah.
That anybody who's into action horror would be into because it's dope. But it's very similar.
Yeah.
Where something sort of enters the body of your hero and transforms them and sort of turns them into this weapon. I guess Guyver did it even before all that. But this is definitely a very different take on because it's so humorous.
Because Parasite is hardcore again, and
Parasite is so dark.
This is so funny and such a funny take on that kind of thing. But it's you're really worried for your main character because if anyone from the anti-kaiju defense force finds him, they're gonna take him out.
Yeah.
And he just wants to help people. Oh god, when they have him smile, nope, don't do that.
It's so good. It's so good. I feel like Parasite's one of those great anime that people kind of slept on. I almost feel like sometimes we should talk about the anime that people should really watch because I feel like there's a few out there that are in my opinion, some of the best that just for whatever reason they it came out at the wrong time or it just wasn't sexy or whatever.
So Parasite, I think did pretty well. Not necessarily in America.
Yeah.
But the thing about Parasite is that the manga came out years and years
90s,
and years ago,
right?
and it took like a decade or two for them to make an anime of it.
Yeah.
And so, but they did the anime in the style of the manga, which still felt like that older style.
Yeah.
The look of it. But it's a great one because they got through the whole a whole story.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So it's not one of those where like you're watching and you're like, how many episodes do I have to watch?
Yeah.
No, you watch like it's like a season.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's
done.
great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's got that Death Note quality.
But it's one of those that's so worth watching.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
But
but you're right. Like the sort of getting to know your new alien self,
Yeah.
kind of aspect to it. But it's crazy because he's he can't control until the end of episode 2 where like he sort of seems to learn how to pseudo control it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I really liked is also about like the world building of this that I want to talk about was when they're going to do the tests, they have these suits that these people wear that are the fighters wear.
Yeah, and you're talking the tests so that they when they're trying to join the anti-kaiju.
Yeah, or and I didn't have to bring that up. Just the outfits that the people that fight the defense force fight, they're these special sort of suits, and they're actually made from the skin and organics of the kaiju, which give them special powers. I thought that was awesome. I've never heard of anything like that.
And it also sort of fuses with them, like not permanently, but in a way that enhances their abilities, but that their body has to sort of work with. It's really fascinating. They do some really interesting sci-fi stuff to it.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit like Guyver, but it's mostly kind of a new idea.
Yeah.
Unless was it like that in a what was that weird manga you read? Gantz. Was Gantz like that at all? I mean, there are superpower suit things.
They're superpowered suits,
but being made from kaiju, I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think they were alien suits, but I don't think they were alien suits.
Yeah, like made of alien. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was so interesting and cool because it's funny because the whole thing of him like taking apart the kaiju and then utilizing this like that felt like Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Because remember like Ron Perlman's character did that. So I felt like that was like, oh, I've seen that before. But the suits, I was like, oh, that's a new idea.
Yeah, well, and they did it in interesting ways. Yeah, I think like they incorporate things that have been parts of like other things of pop culture, but again they do it in interesting and humorous ways, and it's a different spin on it, and I think like it's just so interesting, and at the same time they have these like sort of now larger mysteries because if this thing invaded him and turned him into a kaiju.
Yeah.
What's like are other kaiju, people that have been turned into it that it didn't mesh with, that it went wrong.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like we have no idea what the deal with the kaiju is like, they really haven't really given us like a background on that.
Well, it's like, even, like, One Punch Man is similar. Like, a lot of the monsters, we don't really know. Like, they'd be weird. The guy would be like, I ate a lot of seafood and became a crab man. Yeah. You're like, nah, I don't think that's how it works. There
has to be some sort of catalyst, right?
Well, and that's the thing, though. I mean, we're still so early days on it. I mean, we've only watched 3... There's only 3 episodes out, like you said before. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I like that. I like the sort of foil, the girl that, like, the young
teenage girl,
who's a prodigy fighter. I think she's really funny, and it's so funny too to have him have this rivalry with this he's like this essentially kind of poor older guy, and she's like this rich young teen girl, and they have this rivalry where she's constantly beating him, and it's really funny and weird.
Yeah, and she's so mean to him.
She's so mean.
She's so mean. But at the same time, there's also that aspect of when he was a kid, he and his friend Mina they were gonna go fight kaiju together.
Yeah,
and because they lost everything together, and she became part of the defense force and he didn't, and this is his last chance to be with her to so that they could fight them together just like they promised when they were kids, and there's these lovely, beautiful aspects, these really sweet slice of life parts at the same time as you're getting this crazy action monster fight. But
oh, totally. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to unfold in this. But yeah, I just think the thing is, I was really expecting this kind of overtly serious thing. Like, between Attack on Titan and Blue Lock and Solo Leveling, a lot of things you kind of looking like, oh, this is probably going to be, even Fire Force.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be kind of like an overly serious thing. And the fact that it, like, is very much not that made me, like, really happy. Because I'm always looking for, like, I think the best anime, like, they can have their serious moments, but I just think they really excel in humor.
Yeah.
Especially, like, when you can fold that into the action stuff. Like, has there ever even been a joke, actually, in Solo Leveling? I feel like Solo Leveling is, like, every joke is, like, gallows humor. Yeah. I don't feel like there's one actual funny moment in that entire show. And there doesn't need to be. Well, no. Yeah, it's all, like, he might die humor.
Yeah.
Like, when he first, like, got the penalty for not doing his, like, training, and and they took him to, like, Dune or whatever that sandworm planet is, and he's getting chased by the giant, you know, millipede or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like, that's, like, humor in that show, you know? So it's nice to have something that's actually really funny. Yeah,
you're right. Like, the one character, like, referring to him as boss, like, you know, it's situationally funny,
but it's not actually
humor.
Funny.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, that works for Solo Leveling.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad to have a new anime that has that lighter side to it, because you know, I love Attack on Titan was incredible. Yeah. But again, no humor. Like,
it kind of broke me a little bit. Like, I after Attack on Titan, I'm like, all right, we're done. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with, like, overtly serious, like, and overtly violent anime. Like, I'm okay with it being overtly violent, but having, like, some humor, or it being, like, overtly serious and being, like, you know, and that being its main goal. But just, like, the amount of, like, I swear I have, like, PTSD from Attack on Titan.
Seriously.
It was, like, it was a lot. It
took weeks to get over that finale.
I really could. I know. I was just, like, broken. I was like, what do I do? I'm trying to do a job over here, and I'm just like, but Aaron, and he opened his eyes right before that. I was like, oh, I'm like, it's too much. Yeah. I can't deal with this. And luckily, I don't have to deal with that kind of sorrow, because apparently Kaiju number 8 is, really chill. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we're watching right now, right?
Yeah.
We're doing Kaiju number 8. We're doing Solo Leveling. We got to get back to Mashal.
Yes. Is there more of it now, or did it finish the season?
It might have finished.
Because it ended
season.
like the last place that we ended seemed like
it
either seemed like the end of a like season half or the end of a season. Like, it kind of.
I think there's a few more episodes when it ended. Yeah, but the season actually might be over. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, Kaiju number 8 was fun.
Watch it.
Watch it. I think it's on. I know it's definitely on Crunchyroll. I don't know if it's on anything else though. Might just be Crunchyroll for now.
I don't know. We've been seeing posters for it around, like on bus benches and stuff. Yeah. It's like, whoa, yeah.
I know. Well, it's LA. You know, we get lots of advertisements everywhere.